what are we up to today? Well, I've got a big heavy thing to put on the desk, which is why we're on the GoPro with a wide angle. If you look in my previous video, you'll see we cleaned this desk up just for this purpose. Now, the question is, can I get this on the desk? This is a Pacom PDR16-RMT series DVR. Big 16 channel DVR, and I'm pretty sure it runs off Windows XP or some sort of embedded version of that. Now, this was given to me or donated to me, and these days I can do all of this and then some on a much smaller box. Namely in a box this size, and it does a whole lot more. This has got some physical interfaces that doesn't, but with something like AHD cameras and stuff, being able to send the PTZ commands back up the coax, you don't need those physical interfaces. However, what I do need is to rejig my server setup, which is a bit of hodgepodge bits and pieces in a Raspberry Pi 4. This box would be just nice to whack that and all the hard drives in one place. So I'm going to strip this out and I'm going to build my server into it. And I know it might be a bit of a piece of history, I guess, but I'm sick of it. And I don't want, I think it's 4 or 6 hard drives in here in a SCSI array. I'm done with that. I don't want to know. So we're going to pull this apart, strip all the guts out, and rebuild our server into it. So let's see how we go. Right, well, I've got the GoPro 3-way tripod out for this one. And I hope that maybe I can get a better angle on it. Now, let's have a look around the back here. So we have, well, there's more than 16 on here, but I know there is 16 plus loops for them, plus microphones and all these other little things here. So I'm going to start by pulling these leads out, if I can remember how to do it. Oh, you push them in, I think. That's right. I'm going to need a screwdriver to push these in. Pull all these extra cables out that clearly whoever removed this didn't know how to do this. They just snipped all the wires. Alright, actually this might be handy to reuse these connectors because I do have a Raspberry Pi in there, so I might be able to connect these to the GPIO, and they are numbered, which means I can correlate that to the GPIO ports. Right, there's some of that stuff out of the way, and these 3-ways are really easy to bump, so sorry if you're a little bit seasick there, guys. Alright, I need to get the top off it. I've got my handy dandy favourite Schneider electric insulated screwdriver. Back when I worked for a Sparky or an electrical contractor, the Schneider guys would come in every now and then to see if they could bribe us into buying stuff. And the screwdriver is one of the freebies we got given. Now this top does slide back and come off. I'm not sure how, maybe it just lifts up. I had this off one of these a while back, but I'm not sure how. Give me a moment to figure this out. Alright, I think the spudger along this front panel clip here probably be what we need. Here we go. Now this thing is mega dusty. Now it's got an Asus board in here. It's a P5LD2. Now we have ribbon cables to all the connections at the back. There's a custom board for that. So let's pull these out. Oh, I dropped those screws. I need them. Definitely need those guys. Let's put them in a safe spot. And glad I have an under desk light because I can see them. Right, so strip these ribbon cables off. This is just basically a computer with a capture card in it. Alright, so let's pull this capture card out and have a good look at that. And it looks like it's a PCI, so still semi-useful. But if I can get it out, it's got a lot of different connections on here, none of which we really care about at this point. Oh, that's an additional card in there as well. Alright, so PCI, I'm pretty sure it just rips right out. There isn't a retaining latch on it. It feels like there is though. Ah, that's because there's this clamp on the top here. Well, this bar I've got to remove. Rack cases are a little different. Alright. Pull you out here. That should come out. I've got a... There we go. Right. Here we go. Let's have a look at what they were using to capture. Oh, there's a fixed lead on this that goes to a DuPont connector. So they were using an IV net board. It's got an IV net chip, IVR FS1648 with Techwell. So they're using Hynix RAM chips, 4 of which, and then Techwell, which these are obviously the interface chips for the different cameras, because they all run off to the board. So they're a TW2814, yeah, a TW2814 chip. That's obviously interfacing with all the cameras, and then you've got your filtering circuits all on the back here. So yeah, and obviously we could connect with a big connector like that too. They've got looks like gaseous surge arresters or something on there. Interesting card. Still, it's not going to be useful for what we do. We're not doing analog cameras, so that can come out. All right, let's see what kind of video card they put in this thing. Video card is here. All right, this is an AGP video card. Oh, it's right. This has actually been replaced. This is much newer than everything else. There's a little Radeon graphics card in AGP. It's an X300 SE 128 meg graphics card. Interesting. Alright, what's this one down here? This, I think, is an expansion card for the capture board. Let's have a look at what we've got here. Oh, this is on AMR or something. Or is that early PCI Express? It is, it's PCI Express. Okay. What's this thing? It's an extension made in 2006. Okay, so we've got, yeah, this is an extension. I think this is like a pan-tilt zoom board. I think that's what that is. Not sure. Don't care. We're ripping this thing out. That whole interface board on the back, I reckon I'm probably just going to leave that there. Now, we've got IDE leads, or possibly SCSI. We'll compare to an IDE lead in a minute. Alright, let's have a look here. So we need to get our P8 and P9, and this is where we need to chop some zip ties. Let's have a look at what we've got in here. Choppy chop zip tie. I'm probably going to leave the power supply in here because I can make use of both the 12 and the 5 volts. Let's get this out of the way. Okay. Lots of Molex plugs here. Alright. Now, let's rip a drive out. At least one of these guys. Now, do I have an IDE lead handy? No, I don't. That looks like 80 pin. We've got 20 along the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's going to be standard IDE, 80 pin IDE. Not SCSI like I seem to remember. But it's handy because I want to see how the file system works on these, so I'll probably recover the drivers at some point. Alright. So these guys out of here. these ones are here. And it's not P8, P9, it was an ATX connector. Guy up here. Oh. That's the fan connector. It's a Molex. There's lots of Molex power splitters here too. Look at this. Heaps of them. What are you? You're a front panel connector. Front panel. What are you? You're going down to. There's another drive down there. I'm going to guess 3 drives for storage and 1 for hard drive. Or 1 for operating system. Ooh, nice ATA high density leads. Okay. God, this thing's so dusty. Now that's another, looks like a USB connector. That's front panel. What do we got? Gotta say, stripping these things down so much easier than putting this sort of stuff back together again. Yeah, looking for motherboard screws here. Let's see how we go. I'm hoping this ultra wide angle's working for you guys. So, what have we got? Oh, there's one there. Oh, back in the days where there was like dozens of motherboard screws. I'm surprised to see PCI Express in this thing. So 3 PCI Express and 3 standard PCI, and then it's got an AGP. Video, no, is that? Ah, it's a PCI Express 16, and then 3 PCI 1x boards. I wonder how much RAM they put in this. Find out in a moment. Where is it? What? Oh, okay, I see. Yep, do that. Now, what do we got in here? 256 meg, 1x16. It's PC2 4200. That's actually not probably such a bad board. That would have been an expensive motherboard in its day. I don't know what chip's on there, but anyway, we don't care. Alright, drive time. I don't know what they're for. I think the front fans. Now the question is, have they screwed them in on both sides? It feels like they have. In which case this is going to get to be irritating, because I'm going to have to take that whole frame out. Yep, I'm going to have to remove the entire frame. However, they're on pegs. They're on 2 screws. That shouldn't be too hard. If they hadn't have cross-threaded this screw down here. I can see me having to retap that. If I bother putting the drive bays back in there. Alright. There we go. Oh, it's nice and clean behind that. There we go. What sort of drive have we got in here? 500 gig, 7200 RPM. And it's a Hitachi Desk Star. I wonder if they're all the same. They can go out in a moment. We may reuse that bit. Alright. I think most of the weight of this thing is bloody hard drives. Alright. Yep. See, those screws are not cross-threaded. They're good. Pick you up here. And these both look like Hitachi Desk Stars as well. Considering there's what, 1.5 terabytes between these 3 drives, considering you can buy 10 terabyte drives off the shelves these days, and there are bigger available, and you can buy that in an SSD. Like, this is really redundant now. I do see why they upgraded this system. Plus, the way they had this thing configured, I know where this came from. The way they had this configured, it was panning and tilting cameras 24/7, all the time moving. And they wore out. The motors just died in the things. Yeah, then this thing had the capacity to move it based on motion. Yep, another Hitachi Desk Star. And another one again. Same one. Okay. Alright, there's our brackets. So we still have another one down here to pull out. And that frame is also on pegs. You know, this might have almost been some kind of like server rack that they designed to be serviceable. And I say that with sarcasm because I'm hinting at design individuals these days that really should design this in domestic consumer cases. This one up here, this is, that was a pain in the ass. I mean, yes, it's better than some, but it was still a pain in the ass. Okay, I can see here that I'm going to have to put this frame back in because it's going to hold the ROM drive in, but it's also going to hold the USB slot in place. So I may actually find a way to connect that to the Raspberry Pi. By the way, I want this drive out because I'm going to need the room to hide all the other. I'm using a stack of external drives on a Raspberry Pi 4, so I'm just going to whack the whole external case and everything in here. I'm not going to bother stripping it down, and I'll just hope that the airflow through this case and the filters keeps everything cleaner. Although, looking at how much dust is in here, I don't think the filters did a whole lot. So what's this one? Is this one any different to the rest of them? This one is, let's have a look here. This is a Seagate, so it's different, 250 gig. So it's the 5th of the 3rd, 2007, installed by Pacom with the version, a 2006 version of the operating system on here. Okay, interesting. So we'll see what we do with that. All right. Now, I think we need to go out to the shed and give this a good clean out with the air compressor. So I'm going to give my GoPro a bit of a break, and I'm going to take it out to the shed and give it a good dusting. Alright, the box is clean. I've connected to my server via SSH and instructed it to shut down. So we can spin around here. We have a look at our box. Looks probably about 100 times cleaner. There are some rust spots and stuff under here. I don't think I'm going to care too much about that. Alright, let's go and start disassembling our server and getting all the bits in here. Alright, we have my server in pieces. This is my file server. A Raspberry Pi 4 with all the bells and whistles, the maximum RAM, the little heat sinks. I think I've even got a little fan for it. I've been supplying it 5 volts from this regulator. I think it'll probably be a little bit more stable if I power it off the power supply from this thing. I've also got these 4 drives to hide in here. There's a 5 terabyte and 2 8 terabyte drives. This 4 terabyte drive has every Aussie Repair Guy video ever backed up on it, along with a few other things, but it's almost completely full with just Aussie Repair Guy videos. So we need to figure out how we're going to fit all this in the case. And I've been running everything off a little USB 3 hub as well, so that's interesting. Alright, I'm going to have a think and we'll come back to this. Okay, so I think this bit I'm going to be probably most sensible hiding one of the drives under it. And I think that's good. I could take the plastic casing off all these guys and mount them as they, because they're actually SATA drives in here. I could actually probably mount them that way. Too much effort and less modular in my books. So I'm going to leave them in their plastic cases, but there's still probably more fan cooling in this arrangement than there was previously. So I think I'll put this guy straight back in. I can shove one drive under there, and I'll work out how to interface this to the Raspberry Pi so I can at least get one port useful on the front for plugging the keyboard in, which I think will be handy. So let's do that and we'll be back. Now I'm going to do something a little dodgy here, but as I put these drives in, I'm going to put a dot of blue tack on each corner. That will eventually smush down. It's a poor man's anti-vibration mount, but it does work very well, and they tend not to float around if you move things. So given the mass of this whole thing, make sure my ports are up and facing the back, And we get some of these cables all out of the way. Right now I like snagless cables a lot, not these stupid things. Alright, my piece of blue tack under there. So that should sit in there nice and softly and firmly and not slide around. This guy's back in. That's good. What are you guys doing? Get them way out of the way. Right out of the way. That can come out entirely. Don't think we need that at all. And these Molex plugs. I've got a nifty little way that I'm going to try and make this work. The original power switch on the front connects to this. I'm pretty sure I can just bridge the black and green on this and make that power supply fire up, no worries, just from the switch on the front, which will be nice. It's all better if I could do it to plug straight into this. Thinking about ripping a connector off an old motherboard, but so just make replacing this easier. But I think for my skill level it's pretty easy just to continue with what I've got. And I'll have 12 and 5 volts available on here. And there should be ample enough load to keep the voltage under control in that supply. I do need to, however, pull out these old screws that are hiding away in there. Alright, I've switched to non-insulated now. There's another zip tie to snip here. Alright, that's a SATA power there as well. Nifty to have. Alright, so all of these guys can come up out of the way. Now we start deciding where we're going to put it. I think I'm going to put some cleaner on a rag and give this a wipe down as well. See if I can just make a bit more room. Alright, well I've decided I'm going to leave the method for mounting this to last. Being it's just the smallest component and it needs to be the most accessible, I figure that can happen last. What I'm curious about is this rack, which clearly needs a clean, but we'll have a look in a minute. Will these guys fit in there in their present state? They won't. They might fit that way. Well, that could work. I wonder if I'd get both of them in the one rack. Let's have a look here. Oh, that will almost do. That might go on the other rack on its own. I might get two of these guys side by side in there. That might happen. Bit of a bodge job, but that might work. Alright, so I'll put at least one of these guys back in and we'll get them mounted in. So I mounted this cage back in after I cleaned it and found that these are going to hang out in a really awkward position. It's got a nice aluminium case on it, this one too. I'm thinking I'm going to try and crack these cases open and actually mount the drives the way they are and see if I can come up with some sort of compromise. Hopefully I don't screw my backups in the process, because I don't have another 4TB drive to back it up on. Not yet anyway. I've got to buy some more. And I do intend on expanding in this, so it would be handy if I've got them mounted in a traditional fashion. So we'll try that. Okay, let's have a look at where we're at. We have two drive bays here with all our drives dismantled and removed and put apart. This had a Seagate Barracuda drive in it, and it's got an aluminium heatsink on the top. That's crazy. Now the rest of these all had Seagate Barracudas in them as well. All pretty much the same model and style as well. Now this is a Western Digital MyBook, but the drive is facing this way, but they've taken the bracket and brought it round the side here. So if I pull this one out of its case, I can't fit it in anywhere in here. So that one is going to go in its original case, and it's pretty usual for Western Digital to do stupid stuff, if you ask me. So the Seagates are generally where I try and spend my money. So yeah, we're going to stick this down soon. I'll find some super duper double-sided tape. We'll stick that down properly, and then we'll figure out how we're going to get the Raspberry Pi in here. Alright, we have ourselves some 30 kilogram to the square centimeter mounting tape and a pair of scissors. So I'm going to whack a couple of strips of that on here. Put that all through here. This stuff's very flexible, so it conforms nicely to to this funny ridged shape they've got going on here. So we're going to stick it down. This all seems probably like the backyarder's craft method for putting together a server, and yes, I know there are options out there like probably SATA interface cards and everything for the Raspberry Pi 4s. I know, but this is something that's pieced together over time, and now I'm stuck with it. So that's my server. Alright, that one's got the port high enough up. Now the thing I need to do now is go and make sure that I've got enough plugs to fit these guys, and check the polarity of all of those plug packs. Make sure they're all center positive, so that I don't do something stupid and blow up one of these controllers. So I'm going to go do that, and we'll be back. Alright, so I've checked all four wall warts or plug packs or power supplies, whatever you want to use to determine or to reference these things. The power supplies for all of these are all center positive connections. Now, I happen to have a bunch of 5.5 millimeter 2.1 mil inner DC power plugs in here somewhere. I should at least have 4 of them. I think that's 4. Probably a 5th one for a spare. Alright. I'm going to need a few more anyway. So now I'm going to hook up to the 12 volt side of this. The yellow is generally 12 volts and red's normally 5. So I'm going to try and make myself 4 power connections for these drives, at least. I've got to run a network switch off this as well, so that's going to be interesting. Anyway, I'm going to try and focus on getting the power for these done, and then I'll work from there on. Now, before I get too carried away, I need to hook some power up to this power supply and make sure it still works before I start chopping it up. Let's turn around here. One there, give us power. We have an extension lead kicking around down here somewhere. That sounds like the guy there. Alright, now, dodgy trick here. I'm going to use the current shunt in my meter to create close enough to a dead short to turn this thing on. Where's our green wire? Our green wire is in here, and we should have a black wire right next to it. Is it going to fire up? Probably helps if I turn it on at the back. Where are we? Alright, so it's firing up. That's good. And I did give it a good clean out. And the fan sounds nice and smooth. Capacitors sound a little bit niggly in there, but I think that's probably going to be more stable than the plug packs we've got. Yeah, I think we'll be alright. Okay, so where's that power switch? There. I think what I might do first is chop those 2 wires and connect them to the front panel switch. I think that's what we'll do here. Leave a little bit of room on that plug in case I ever need to reconnect it. So those 2 there can go to these 2 here. And that should function as a power switch. So let's get that sorted. So I've just discovered a master plan, or a problem with my master plan. This switch is spring loaded. It's not going to stay on. That's a pain in the ass. So I'll see if I've got a switch to fit the hole, but I may have to fit a different switch, which I can probably just drill a round hole in there and fit one to that. In the meantime, I'll hold off on heat shrinking that until I figure out how I'm going to do it. But in the meantime, I'm going to work on the power connectors and figure all that out. I can clip onto this for testing, that'll work. Alright, let's keep going. Alright, so next quirk. These plugs don't appear to fit the sockets, although they look correct. They might be different sizes. Where are my verniers? I need to check them, because I could be just cutting some plugs off. There's my verniers right there. Let's have a look here. 0U, so you are 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, and 6.8. Oh, wrong one. 5.5. Okay, they're all 5.5. The inner holes are about 2.3. These should be 2.1s. They're 2.1s. So maybe these are 5.5, 2.5s. That's why they won't fit, because of the pin. Let me have a look here. Yeah, I do have some 2.5 somewhere. I wonder if I've got them. Oh no, they will fit. Okay, let's have a look here. Maybe I was just in the wrong spot. Well, that one is too small. That one's too small. They're the same bloody drive. Maybe that's a wrong plug. Maybe I just had one incorrect plug. Yep, that one fits. That one does not. So these are a different size. Let me see if I've got any more. Alright, so a bit has changed. I managed to find enough plugs to fit all these. I've wired them up. I've put heat shrink on the hot wire to make sure that it's okay. We're about to smoke test the drives and see if they spin up. They may or may not. Alright. Nothing is currently happening when I fire that up. I wonder. Something is now wrong. Anyway, I didn't want to use DC plugs for this in case I got it wrong. So I've hooked this up to the 5-volt wires directly, because I'm bypassing the regulators and the fuse, crucially. So that needs to be on the 5-volt line. I can't get that mixed up now. Okay, let me figure out why this is not working. Okay, so things work when I plug this particular drive in, but not the others. So let's see if I can power it just one drive at a time and see what happens. That one doesn't fire up. Nor does that one. It doesn't attempt to fire up at all using that one. So let's try this. Nope. It did fire up before, but I think these need a load on the 5-volt side to do their thing. Let's try that one. So it works alright with that one. Let's try this. Yes, it works on that one, but not with either of these. Alright, well, we'll figure that out in a minute. I've got a bit to do, so we'll be back. Alright, so I think the power supply might be shot, which is a pain in the ass, but I've got an ATX one here that I can power up, and it works well enough. Probably not nearly enough Molex plugs, but you know, we'll work with that. I hope this one's going to work, because I've got to just undo all the work I've just done again to make this one work. So so we go. But crucially, this is a 400 watt. This one was like a 320, so a little bit more. This one looks in good health. This one came into my collection, and I think I just threw it out. There was a piece of nail file stuck in the fan in here, so it probably made some horrible noises, and they probably discarded it as a result. So that might explain what's wrong with it. But I'm going to put this back on before I electrify myself. Yeah, let's get this installed and see if this works. Alright, so I've been really busy. I've discovered at this point that this supply doesn't fit the hole quite right. It's a slightly different supply, and this has got a really lenient cut here. So I can probably modify that at some point in the future. But I'm just going to whack 2 screws in here for now, because I'm getting very tired. This has taken quite a while. There's often been about an hour between clips in here. So this one's just getting screwed in with 2 screws for the time being. And we will trim this out with a Dremel or something at a later date. I need to check that it's actually going to function first before I do much else. Although, truth be told, I'll probably forget about this and it'll be here for years. But anyway, that's in firm enough for the moment. I've got some longer screws I can shove in there. Alright, now I have a big daisy chain of power connectors here that should connect to all the drives. We'll plug all these guys in and see how we go. I've measured them out, so they should be nice and neat. Got to insert in between all the drive cables in here. Now, these sort of hodgepodge projects sometimes do require a lot more effort to get working. Alright, that looks good. Alright, so where's our two leads here? Let's ground this. Let's just see if it fires up temporarily. Alright, well, it hasn't thrown a wobbly, just with a test power up. That's good. So I'm thinking what I might do is I might plug a HDMI lead in and see if this thing fires up on the screen. If it does, then we'll go and put a power switch on it. Okay. HDMI is connected. I'm not sure if I'm connected to the right output on the Pi yet, but we'll see what happens. Bit of tape on these so they don't ground out the wrong way. Well, I've got a picture on the screen. It's looking good. I've got a mouse connected. I've got power on the mouse. The Pi is reporting low power at the top of the screen, but I'm hearing the drive spin up. I'm seeing lights flash. That's good. Alright. And I've got this little one in here that I don't want to short out. This little guy here is 3 lights for one of those drives. Alright. That's good. I'll just poke it there so it doesn't get damaged. So Librilex loading Cody. It's looking good. I want to check if it recognizes all the drives first, because I've probably messed them up, their position on the hub, and that sometimes screws with Linux. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys can see the screen up here. Let's change our angle up here. So we have our screen off the corner right there. It's going to be difficult, but let's have a look. Where are we? Videos. Should see files. 4 terabyte, 5 terabyte, 8 and 2. So let's check our 4. It's working. 5 is working. The first 8 is working. The second 8 is working. Okay, we're good. We've got all 4 drives up. So let's go and I don't know how to get back here. Here we go. Oh, we should be able to shut this guy down. Power off system. So what I'll probably do is attach a relay card to the Raspberry Pi at some point, and that will allow me to turn the front fans on and off with the temperature sensor. But anyway, for the moment, I'm bumping into tools. So I'll get this a bit more neatened up and do a few more things, and we should be cooking with gas. Things are progressing. I've managed to attach and crudely hot glue some leads down, so I now have a couple of USB leads attached to the front panel connectors. So I'll have 2 USB 2 ports on the front, leaving an additional USB 3 free inside the case for an additional hub should I add extra drives. I'm now working on, and we're going to shift our camera angle here, I am now working on these connectors here that connect to the hard drive and power light to try and make some sense of them. I'm going to give this front panel a clean up. Inside here I have super glued a front panel on here with a switch for power on and off, and this one is not used at the moment. So I will be putting this back in to hold the USB on, but there will be room underneath to house more drives. I have been inside here and added some zip ties and neatened things up a bit. I'm leaving that board in there for now. Not sure what I might use it for, but we'll come up with an idea if I need to. So anyway, it's starting to look all right. I'm going to probably fit a relay board in here. I think I have one spare. This is one I've got from a leftover from a project. I'll add one of them in there somewhere, so in future, close to this, I can control the fans with it. All right, so now I'm going to install this guy, and then I'm going to work out how to get those lights happening, and then we'll be cooking with gas at that point. All right, so a lot has happened, and I've got another problem. Now I've connected my power and my hard drive LED, and I've just started to get everything hooked up. I've unplugged the power from the hard drives for a minute because I have a new problem. It fires up for a bit and then turns off again. And I think it's the power supply. So I'm going to go find a working computer that I've got and raid the power supply out of that because I know it will work. And then I'm going to have to solder connections again. Yay. Alright, so you know this happens every time you put zip ties on things, things fail. So we now have a 600 watt power supply in here that I found. The fan configuration's a little bit more amicable to fitting in this slot, which is good. It's actually a lot quieter. I've got a rat's nest of cables, but I'll show you everything's connected. So let's change our AV, or sorry, not our AV, let's change to HDMI 2. Let's give this guy a push button and see if she runs. I did test this off. Probably helps if I plug the power in. That's under my desk. Sorry about the wobbly footage for the moment. I'm getting really tired. I'm kind of over this project at this point. I want it to work. I kind of need it to because I've got files to back up. Okay, so switch on. Power on. Fan is moving. Lights are on the Pi. We have test pattern. Fairly soon we should see drive light come up. Come on, drive light. Although these things tend to short out pretty well if you have them backwards, so it wouldn't fire up at all. So drive light's on, Pi is coming up. I'll be back in a few minutes to see if it's actually working. Right, so my GoPros do funny things every now and then. I pushed record, it said not enough SD card space, and then started recording. So I don't know, it does that occasionally. Let's have a look here and go videos. I have to clean up this OS a little bit. Alright, all our drives are here, our drives are functioning, and I see lights flicker. Let's look at the video folder. See what we've got in TV series in here. Yeah, good old Angry Beavers. Alright, that's going to play alright for a little bit. So we'll leave that run for a while and see if the thing shuts down or overheats or something. I'm just going to leave it go off the network. So I'm going to take a break and give my back a rest, and hopefully we'll get to the end of this soon enough. Alright, so I started this guy about lunchtime. It's now nearly 11 PM. But I'm about ready to button it up and put it into service. I've added a relay card. I had to pull one of the fans out of here and put some standoffs on it. Had to rearrange stuff, had to pull things out, had to replace the power supply. You name it, things have gone wrong. But I've got my power switch on the front, but I also took the original power switch and I've hooked that up to GPIO 21 here. And so now it can control the relays. So I've got a bit of a timer here. If we run this, it'll turn on the fans 3 seconds apart, and they'll run for 30 seconds and then shut down again. I'll adjust that time a little bit later, but I'll leave that run. That's all just done as a Python script with the GPIO library, which is a bit of a challenge to do with LibreLec. You've got to install an add-on. It's called Raspberry Pi Tools in Program Add-ons before you can import the GPIO libraries, and you have to do that by importing sys first. It's a whole different thing you got to do. Here we go. It's starting to turn them off. Here we go. Fans have turned off. I'll work out some more advanced coding in that later, but that works enough to test it. I turned on UART, and I have UART connected to that light, and I have main power on the power supply on that light. So I've got an idea of when the Pi is alive and when the power supply is live. I've got The light for the hard drive stuck down here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see that at all. Doesn't really matter. All right, let's put the lid on, give this a clean up, and shove it where it needs to go. All right, so it's almost the final smoke test time. We need to get a bit of this stuff off the front. A bit of a wipe down. Okay, well that's actually, that paint stuff is not coming off as easily as I thought. But whatever. Now, one of these days I'll get myself a data cabinet to put here instead of a TV stand. But it looks a damn sight neater than the old system. Alright, let's have a look here. Turn her on. It's also getting close to midnight and my apprentice is tired and cranky, so you may hear her complaining in the background. Bedtime's kind of like the end of the world, apparently. Let's have a look here. Although at least she is awake and alert to complain about those things. She scared the crap out of us the other day. She had a tonic-clonic seizure. And we think she's photosensitive. See how we go here. Is it going to fire up? It's also good we can lock access to the USB ports on the front now, which is nice. I'll run that Python script at boot later on when I can be bothered to manage the fan controllers, and I may even put a temperature sensor on the board at some point, or a temperature, humidity, and what is it, DHT sensor, so it can manage things as well. That seems to be working nicely. Let's have a quick look here. This acts as a file server as well as a media center. So we should be able to go here and see files. Go here. Oh, got myself geographically embarrassed. Here we go. All right. It's working. Alright. Cool. Okay, it works. I'm done. I am so over this project and I've still got some other stuff to do yet. See you in the next one. Hope it was interesting.